Welcome to the Mayo Experience, throwing it back on a Friday, going back to the roots of the show, talking some reality TV, because there's nothing I enjoy more, I guess, besides like sports and gambling and fantasy and that kind of thing. But I do love fantasy TV. My favorite show's back on. The Challenge, Vendettas is on right now. I usually run a fantasy league for this and The Bachelor and everything, but, you know, building a new studio, switching jobs, doing all that, I couldn't really pull the trigger on it. Hopefully, that all returns to the future, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about it. So joining me, the special celebrity guest who also, as I found out, loves The Challenge, it's Adam Rank from the NFL Network. What's going on, dude?
What's happening? Yeah, The Challenge is back. I'm bummed. I wish I would have known you'd run fantasy programs with it before, because I would have definitely been a big part of that, because I've enjoyed The Challenge. But you talk about some of your favorite things, be it sports and all like that. Like, this is a sport. These guys are legit athletes. I think we see every time that they go up against, you know, actual athletes, they always beat them in these challenges. We just saw a recent one. I don't know if I'm spoiling it for anybody, but like CT made Terrell Owens quit the celebrity challenge. So I think that these guys are legit athletes.
All right, do you think it's a bit of a problem that they don't take any time off anymore? Like, they're still running that, like, mini season of the challenge. Well, this one's still going on. Like, it's a bit much. I need, like, at least 2 weeks to pump the brakes.
Yeah, The Bachelor does a nice job of going from The Bachelor to The Bachelorette, and then you have, like, an off season. And I think that these guys need an off season. We as viewers need off seasons because, you know, you got to carve off an hour, you know, each week to go out and watch. I know we're so spoiled now that it seems like I can't take an hour out of my time, but there needs to be a little breath in between all these. I agree with you.
Yeah, and at least the challenge hasn't gone above the hour-long format like it used to be at half an hour, which, like, when I go back and, like, I watch old seasons when there used to be an off-season, MTV, like, runs them on, like, Saturdays and Sundays. They're, like, half-hour long. It's like, oh, just pile through 22 of these, no problem. But, like, The Bachelor's, like, 3 hours long. It's a big commitment to get to. Like, I do not envy those, like, Bachelor recappers. There's just a lot to digest.
Yeah, The Bachelor's gotten a bit excessive. Like, it's a little bit too much. And I know they're going to do the one with the Winter Games tie-in as well.
That sounds fun, though.
That sounds cool. Like, that's what it should be. And actually, I think they're taking a page out of the playbook that MTV has given them with, like, look, you've got a successful franchise here with The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. Why not make some sort of sporting competition out of it and get a little bit of a run? And, you know, I remember the first, like, I go way back. Like, I remember the first challenge where it was John from Real World 2 and like Sean Duffy's wife or whatever running around making a challenge thing. I think it was called Real World Road Rules All-Stars. And I think The Bachelor is on the cusp of doing this as well with their Winter Games, but don't get out of control where it's a year-round thing. We need some time.
It's true. Like, The Bachelor goes Bachelor, which debuts, I think it's like week 17 every year because ABC doesn't want to go head-to-head with Monday Night Football, so they bring The Bachelor back to have that time slot. Then you have a bit of the time off, Bachelorette. Then you have Bachelor in Paradise, which just rules, and I think is everyone's favorite show in the franchise. But, like, Bachelor Pad was kind of like The Challenge, but they didn't get to that next. Frankly, they just weren't feeding enough of the players steroids. That's the way I would look at it. Like, what happens? What happens to the Challenge when they start testing?
Yeah, where's the congressional, like, investigation into this? How does Brad suddenly bigger than John Cena? Like, I hadn't seen Brad in a while. Then he rolls up like, what happened to this? Has he always been that big? Was it something that I missed? Or even Shane, like Shane during her season of Road Rules was like a skinny little twerp, and now all of a sudden that guy's jacked.
Yeah, like Brad legitimately looks like one of those, like, Russian cage fighters now. Like, he's just yoked. And he's so ripped. Like, he just got divorced, apparently. And the internet rumors have Kellyanne throwing a wrench into that. My girl, Kellyanne. Love Kellyanne. You probably run into her all the time in L.A. I mean, she just seems to be out and about.
I don't run with those hot spots. I'm still not to the level of MTV celebrity quite yet. Although... No, I won't get into it. But no, I haven't seen her yet.
All right, well, let's get into this season of the challenge. We're 2 episodes into Vendettas right now. Any early thoughts on the new people coming in? So you got, like, Big Brother people in there. You have X on the Beach, a show that I used to watch. They didn't get Scotty T, which was the biggest outrage of all time. You got, like, what are they? Geordie Shore. I like the Geordie Shore guy. Just that accent kills me. How isn't Jersey Shore? How is the situation out on the challenge? That's all I want to know.
I know. It seems like an opportunity missed for sure. And I kind of have been impressed with some of the newcomers. Josh, obviously, winning the challenge of the Rock of Gibraltar was pretty good. But the biggest one for me is I'm a huge Big Brother guy. I think if you made me select my favorite reality TV show, it would be Big Brother. So when we saw Victor show up, I was stoked for him. I thought like, oh, cool, because this guy was a competition beast during his seasons of Big Brother, especially in Big Brother 18, where he was eliminated like 85 times. He was eliminated every week, and then by hook or by crook, he came back. It was like a dusty finish for anybody who's a pro wrestling fan. It's like, oh, and then here's Victor again. Like, you couldn't get rid of this guy, and I was rooting. I didn't like him at first, but he won so much that I started to root for him. So it's kind of fun when you see them added to this element. You're like, okay, Victor, competition beast. I think this guy's going to go out there and crush it. And then we saw in the most recent challenge, the ball pit one, is that he didn't finish amongst the top stars. Like he was struggling to not be the last guy. And of course he was going to be thrown into the little tribunal and everything. But I was kind of taken aback where you watch, like, it's like watching somebody who's good in college that you're sure, like Josh Ferguson. You're like, oh, I've seen all these Illinois games. Josh Ferguson's going to be amazing. He gets to the NFL and he struggles. And I think we're seeing the same thing right now with Victor. And it hurts my heart a little bit.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when you go on to Big Brother, you're not expected to be the most, like, you're not like a CrossFit Olympian when you go in. You don't have any extra special substances on the side. So if he comes back on the challenge, I think you're going to see him like 20 pounds heavier, could really, really work to his advantage.
It's going to be it's going to be like the early baseball card of Barry Bonds, where it's like, here's super skinny Victor. And then by the sixth challenge, he's going to be like San Francisco Giant Barry Bonds and look completely different. His head size will be like enlarged and everything. So I could see that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I mean, I attribute the Barry Bonds head growth to much like the Ken Griffey Jr. head growth with just the nerve tonic. You drink too much nerve tonic, you have the head gigantism, and it's too much of a problem. But like Wes is the Barry Bonds of the challenge. He was
my God.
He was a skinny little guy, and then he went through his period where he was angry all the time. Couldn't figure out why, but he was the biggest dude on the show all of a sudden. Now you see him, he's super calm and super tiny again. You're
like, what happened? What was this magic elixir that he took that made him so big? Like, did he find a fountain of youth? I don't know. But yeah, he's gonna, the biggest thing though, and I know that we're not talking about the celebrity one.
No, well, we can talk about all things challenge. Whatever you want to talk about challenge-wise, let's talk about it.
All right. Well, first of all, I think the whole reason that you found out, the reason I was outed as a challenge person is that I was sticking up for my guy, Johnny Bananas, who, by the way, I think we should point out the Tom Brady of challenges, because just when you think he's done, and I know that in the first week, he did not look good. And you even, I think it was you yourself who said like, he might be getting a little old. The young guns might be passing him by. And then here in week 2, the ball pit, who was the number one guy, the fastest time, Johnny Bananas. But listen, that's another subject for another time. I wanted to make fun of Wes because in the finals that came on afterwards, the finals was a swimming event, which of course Wes he's the swimmer. Like, this is it. He's the Michael Phelps of the swimming competitions of the challenge. And he lost to Johnny Bananas and gave him the opportunity to pick somebody. And he's just like, and Johnny's like, no matter what, we're not taking Wes. And just that kind of rival. I wish the NFL had rivalries like that with guys that you knew did not like each other so much that no matter what, like even if you could win, like it would have been like when you have like one of those super teams, like if Klay Thompson was like, you know what, I'm not taking Kevin Durant because I think he's a D or anything like that. I think sports needs more of that. And I think the Johnny Bananas thing with Wes, keeping him out, beating him in a swimming competition, that thrilled me more than watching one of my favorite teams win a playoff game.
All right, I want to circle back to Johnny Bananas for a second. I think you're right about the Tom Brady stuff, but I think we're going to see the decline from Johnny Bananas. Not so much in these, Johnny Bananas has always been the best at the non-elimination challenges. So, like, saving yourself so you don't have to get thrown in, winning the group competitions, and he's really good at finals because he's, so well-rounded in every way. It's the eliminations that I'm terrified of. If I was on the challenge, which I do not have the physique to be, maybe someday I could host the challenge. When TJ decides to quit, maybe they'll give me a call. I would love that.
Oh, my God. Yeah, quit already, TJ.
Yeah, TJ can quit, or Chris Harrison can quit, because I think he was like a minor league hockey commentator before he was the Bachelor host. I could do that. He's getting old. They need to inject some youth into there. But Johnny Bananas is going to struggle in these elimination challenges. I would throw him in every single time. I cannot wrap my mind around how you go into that house and then all of a sudden he's not the first person in every time. Because with Wes, that's what they did to him. It didn't matter who was on the show, what was going on. There was like a 3-year stretch where it was just like, hey, Wes, you're on the show. You're the first guy thrown in, and we were throwing you in until you're gone.
No, and that's the best strategy. But they are doing that strategy because the first guy in every challenge now is Corey. Like, Corey has now taken that up. And of course, the common theme is that you've egreged Johnny Bananas, and now you are now the designated first guy in the challenge every time, and you're going to have to be fighting your way out of it. And Corey, even in the last episode, was lamenting. He was crying, like, I can't believe that I'm like, yes, yeah, that's what happens. You're the target. And if you don't want to be the guy who's thrown into those challenges, start winning, bro. Like, if you would have made the top 3, then you wouldn't have been in this position. Like, you have nobody to blame but yourself. That was something that Cara Maria was talking about when she was talking to Marie about, like, listen, you ultimately control your own destiny because you are the one out there competing. So now it's Corey. And you know what? I'm glad that it's Corey. Again, this is my Johnny Bananas bias coming into play, but it's like, yeah, I love seeing this. I love that it's still a big thing. I love that even though you're watching the show and it's breaking down and it's like, wow, these guys might vote for Tony. You're like, there's no way. Of course, Corey is going in no matter what, especially going up against Nelson. There was no other choice. But I get what you're saying about Johnny Bananas, but still, the thing with him. This is why the Tom Brady thing absolutely works. Again, like, yes, he's not the guy who's out there winning everything, and he's so athletically better than everybody that he's going to blow everybody away. But he does such a great job of being a champion, of just doing the things that he needs to do. Like, if he needs to hand the ball, like, to use the football analogy, like, if you need to hand the ball to Dion Lewis 4 times in the red zone and he scores all the touchdowns, that's fine. You just need to win. And that's what Johnny has been able to do. And that is the key. And then even, I think if you identified it, I think these people would love to get Johnny Bananas out. He never seems to give them that opportunity.
I guess so. I know. I just happen to. This is my conspiracy theory on the entire thing. Johnny's been on the show so long now that I'm kind of shocked he doesn't have a producer credit. I think he's in these meetings. I think that he's basically, there's something from the crew or even the producer just being like, hey, leave Bananas alone for like 4 episodes, and then he can basically produce while being in the house, and then he just gets his money from that. He doesn't care about winning anymore. He hasn't won in a while since he screwed over Sarah, which was the greatest move in the history of TV. And
of course,
they probably shipped her some money on the side. It doesn't matter. But like, that moment was fantastic, screwing her out of $250,000. But he just seems like a producer now.
A little bit. I mean, he's a coach on the field, as I guess they would call it. And he's got a little bit of cred. I think anybody who walks into that house as well is going to walk in a little bit starstruck, and there's always something to that of like, but because he's so good and so well-rounded, that I think that even when somebody like Victor comes in, who's got to have some familiarity with the show, he knows, like, this is not the person to get on his bad side, because it always ends up working out bad for that whoever comes in and decides, I'm going to take a shot at this guy, ends up being the dude who spends the next 8 challenges being the first one in every elimination. So he's kind of worked his way through it. And I think there's probably, a little bit of truth too. I'm sure that the producers know what his strengths and weaknesses are, and they kind of gear the challenges like, yeah, Johnny would probably do well in these. I could see that definitely being the case because, listen, we've worked in television. We know how this stuff goes. So I will concede a little bit of that. But at the same time, you still got to make the most out of those opportunities, which he certainly does.
Also, Corey is not a great choice to be thrown in first because, as we've seen, the farther he goes in the game, the worse he is. Like, he is terrible at the final challenge. But no one seems to realize that he's not very good at this stuff. Like, I remember the one year, when it was the first year Jenna was on, she had her, like, ex-boyfriend as a partner, and he was just awful. So they just kept them to the end because they were just a layup. You don't see that happen all the time, but Corey's a secret layup that they should be holding on to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm surprised that doesn't get brought up a little bit more. But again, I don't know. I think he's such an easy target, and he's just presumed as somebody who is good. It's kind of like when like Karl Malone was in the NBA. You just assume like, yeah, this guy is he's a great player, but like, he's never won anything. Like, why are we always so concerned about him? He's got the physique. I think he's got the game with the girl. They probably also want to get him out of there because in most seasons, he is the most opportunistic when it comes to hooking up. It seems like this season will not be that way. But still, there's probably a little bit of jealousy there as well. And again, he's the easiest target. It's kind of built in that just this is what's going to happen. And but I do agree with your point. He is kind of a layup.
Do you like that they're bringing back some of the old guys, some of the old girls? Well, like we've seen Grandma Ronnie, Veronica. She's been on like the last 3, and she's awful. But like you said, Brad comes back after 7 years and is just like he's 3 times the man that he used to be. Derek was on last season. I love Derek. And
of course, yeah.
Derek's like my all-time favorite dude. But like having Brad back, like Darrell came back. Like, is there anyone from back then that they should be like bringing back in? Like even to see like Coral back. I don't know if she'd ever do it, but it'd be awesome to see her back on now.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, there's a couple that'll never come back. Obviously, The Miz comes back to host stuff. Mark.
Oh, no, you just wait. The Miz's career will eventually get to the point where he'll be back on the challenge. It's gotta happen.
No way, man. No. He's too big of a star now, unfortunately. Or fortunately for him, good for him. So he's done pretty well. I would like to see Timmy come back. I think that he would be somebody I would like to see where he's at in life. It's got to be tough, though, because when Timmy was back there challenging, that was back when the dudes were just dudes. And then you would have somebody you could see like somebody's been working out. You'd be like, oh, okay, it's that guy's in decent shape. And like a normal human being like you and me could go out there and compete. And I think the last challenge that Timmy was in, the one that he retired like kind of on the spot, was the glass box challenge, where he had that BS, the BS disqualification. Would he have eliminated Wes? It would have been like one of the biggest upsets. And I can't remember who he was going up against. It was one of the guys that he broke out of the box and it looked like he had won. But oh no, the producer said he broke an extra plane of glass or whatever the hell it was. I'm still outraged by it to this day, obviously. But I kind of miss the charm of those guys coming back. It's kind of like when your favorite wrestlers return to the WWE and you're like, oh my God, I haven't seen this guy in a long time. Here comes Mick Foley and he's out there in the ring doing whatever. So it would be fun to see those guys. But again, the game has changed so much that it wouldn't be fair to put somebody out there, especially somebody who's older, who's not training like Lance Armstrong or whatever, and would just be rolling out there with a beer gun. I mean, unless you're CT, because that guy seems to defy all the normal norms of society or of athletics or genetics or whatever, where the dude rolls in with the most horrific dad bod and is still out there dominating everything. He's punking that guy from The Bachelor, Aaron Murray's brother. He's out like, how is this guy out athleting you? You're still in good shape and you're probably like 8 years younger and CT is still out there owning you. But I dig it. I think that there's got to be a way to let the veterans come back, but it's got to be some sort of an even playing field, because this new generation of kids, they're on another level.
Well, I mean, you said Mark Long, and if his Instagram feed is any indication of the shape that he's in now, I think all he does is HGH and CrossFit. Like that, I think he's like 70 years old, and he looks like he's 20.
Is he in? Okay, yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. I haven't seen his physique. I should check out. I'm going to follow him. I'll go look him up on Insta and try to follow him. But if he's in good shape, he definitely needs to return. Because I would love to, like, could you imagine? Because he's got to be well into his 40s. Like, he's got to be pushing 50. And to go out there, like, if he could go out there and hang, like, that would be pretty impressive. He's MTV royalty in some respects, and I think he would clean up. I don't know if he's single or not, but he would probably be very desirable with the ladies and everything like that. So I think it'd be interesting. I'd like to see Mark Long get back into it.
All right, why do you think they brought on all these new people from the different shows? I think it's because no one was hooking up in the house anymore. And now it seems like that's all they want to do.
Yeah, I think you need to kind of get some people in there. I mean, who is actually going to hang out with Johnny Bananas? I mean, as much of a, the girls already know his deal. So, of course, you got to go to somebody who was on Big Brother. And Natalie's there like, Natalie is willing to do whatever. She hooked up with James in her season of Big Brother. So it doesn't seem like much of a leap that she would, upgrade, I guess, to Johnny Bananas. So you got to have you got to introduce like the new girl in the class. Like you need that new kind of fresh blood. It's like Saved by the Bell did it. They brought in Tori, she's there to spice things up. It's that kind of situation. So I kind of like the outside. I do like the outside influence. I think that it gets a little stale. It's like, it's got to be like the draft. You got to have some new blood in there to kind of mix things up. We did see like a little bit of a love triangle starting to perform with the David Beckham guy. Josh, wait, what's his name? Josh?
Kyle,
sorry.
Kyle, yeah. Kyle with the tattoos.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff is interesting because, man, second episode in and Cara Maria's already up in the bunk bed. You're like, this is nice. Or first episode with Brad and that other, what was that other chick? Like, she's just nuding up in the pool. Is that a thing now? Like, maybe I'm a prude. Maybe I'm too old now, but it's like, is that what girls do? Like, we're at the pool, like full nude, just like, that's what we're going to do. That seemed astonishing for me, even by challenge standards.
Yeah, see, you were born 15 years too late, Rank.
I missed out. I had no idea that's what happens now.
Yeah, you missed out on the nudity in the pools. That's ubiquitous. That's everywhere. Like, you go to a public place, that's happening. And only the best-looking women, too. Those are the only ones that are doing it. Even if there's not a camera around, they're still doing it. And you missed out on all the dating apps. I mean, that was top-notch.
Oh, for sure. I remember, like, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but it's like the early 2000s going on spring break in Lake Havasu, and there was one topless girl on a boat, and everybody thought, like, it was the biggest thing ever. Like, everything blew everybody's mind, and now it's like, oh, here's this girl, like, topless. Like, that's prudish just to be topless. We're going bottomless as well. You're like, okay, whatever. I've missed out. I'm now that old guy who has to sit there and be like, oh, I missed out. I missed out on everything.
Well, I think it's the prudiness of the American cast that they wanted to get away from. I think that's why they brought in all these Brits.
Yeah, that is a good point too. I think we could loosen up a little bit. So it is nice to see. Like, as long as the girls like that are going to start doing that at the beaches, I'm like, okay, I'd sign up for that. Like, I went to the Flamingo in Las Vegas one time and went into their European pool on accident, and on accident. My wife was actually with me, and she walked in. She's like, oh, okay, so it's this kind of pool party. And she wasn't arguing. I'm like, well, you're not going to be arguing, then I'm not going to be arguing. We're going to sit here and sip on Corona Lights and have a good time and just enjoy the show. So I don't know what I'm complaining about. So this obviously is a great thing.
Do you watch?
What was even my point? I don't know.
I don't know. Do you watch the challenge with your wife? Because I do, and like I get outraged by like the guy. She's like, you know who I love and who's really sexy? Nelson. I was like, you're married to me. Like there has to be some sort of gap here between the two, between me and Nelson. There's not a whole lot of common ground in the looks department.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, if my wife, she likes Jason Statham, you're like, oh, hell yeah, like that.
Same haircut?
Like
yeah,
same haircut of another bald. Yeah, people who are seeing me for the first time, I'm bald. And I'm trying not to blind you. So it's not like it's freezing, although it is freezing in here. But I'm trying to be kind with the fluorescent lights and everything. But yeah, that's kind of weird. Like, the wife doesn't watch the challenge. She hates watching The Bachelor and The Bachelorette as well. But she's gotten into it, like, begrudgingly. Like, how guys it's usually the guys who get sucked into it because their wives are watching it, and then they come in, they're like, oh, this is garbage. I can't believe you watched this. And then 2 weeks later, you're like, so how old is this girl with the short hair? It was the reverse with my wife, or I was watching it with our neighbors. And then my wife was like, I can't believe you guys watch this. And now she hates everybody, and it's, she's full in. But the challenge, she will not, she draws the line. Like, even last night I went back to review the tape. That's what I do. I was going back to review the tape. She's like, oh my God, you're watching the challenge again. She went to bed and left me up, and I watched it. So I don't have, so I can watch it unfeathered and have my own opinions. And then it also helps to see, that's another thing too. Cause like, you end up saying a person that you like, and you got to make sure that you're still on brand, because you don't want to go the other way. Yeah,
so she tells me she loves Nelson. I mean, everyone I talk to, because we watch it with like a group of people every Tuesday night. So my other friend's wife, she loves Corey. Corey is like the most adorable guy of all time. But across the board, 100%, every woman I talk to, and even most guys, just think that CT is the dreamiest guy on the planet. And somehow, he's more dreamy now than he used to be. I don't understand it.
Because he's a father now. They love that. He's domesticated. Like, he's still got an edge to him. I mean, he's still dangerous. Like, that's the cool thing, is like, he's still dangerous. Like, he's shouting down Terrell Owens, like shouting him down but yet at the same time, he's a cuddly teddy bear because he's got that dad bod belly and he's like a little pudgy, and it's like it works. That's the dream for a lot of women.
Okay, so has anyone, any TV character, because I like to see these guys as characters, not real human beings, because then I start to feel bad about myself. But he starts on Real World Paris, which is, thinking about CT in Paris is just mind-boggling. And you can go back and watch it. It's all on the website, too. To now. So it's like a 15-year period of him being on MTV. Has any character in TV history undergone a bigger career-like arc? Because he's a completely different person now. At least it seems like he is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I get it. I think that he's older, but I still think that there's a lot of the old CT still there. I mean, obviously the physique changes. He's not out in bars every week. He's not fighting, but he's still that person. I think that it just shows a little bit of growth. And I think it's just, as you get older and you have kids, there's going to be something that mellows you out. I mean, it's impossible for somebody to behave the same way at age 39 that they were at age 21. So it is remarkable to see him grow up in that respect, but I give him credit for still being true to himself. He's still the same Boston guy. He's still the same guy who won't back down from an altercation, be it verbal or physical. And I think, it's been fun. Like it's like, it is really like watching a soap opera and somebody who's been on it for years. And, but, I think that it's been an interesting arc. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, to think about the stuff that he was doing in Paris, and now you think about, like, how he drives a Nissan Rogue or whatever and is dropping his kids off at school. It is kind of a remarkable thing to think about.
All right, so back to this season. You mentioned Cara Maria's in that love triangle. Where does Cara Maria, do you think, rank now among, like, the best female challengers of all time? Because you got, like, Emily, who was on that, like, Stars and Champ season, is just awesome. I don't think they allow her to come on anymore on, like, the real ones because she would just kill everybody. And, like, Evelyn was awesome. And, I mean, I looked into her LinkedIn profile. I think she graduated from Harvard, Yale Law School. And she's, like, working with, like, the International Court of Criminal Justice or something, doing something really good with her life. Coral was awesome. I know I'm forgetting someone. Like, is Cara Maria on that level, or is she just awesome because all the really good female competitors are gone?
I think at some point they're going to have to allow Emily to come back just so we can have it out. I think that we're giving Cara Maria one more opportunity to go and establish herself. Clearly, she seems like the front runner to me, at least in my eyes. She does have a challenge, at least from Kayla, who's kind of a new blood. She's actually my girl. I actually, with the blue hair and everything like that, I really like. And thankfully, if the wife was watching with me, that's an on-brand choice, so it's okay. I don't have to be too concerned about anything. But Cara Maria, I do think that she's quickly getting into the top 5 conversation. She's clearly taking advantage of some favorable rule situations. It's kind of like the Houston Rockets winning in the post-Jordan retirement era, where she's benefiting a little bit. And at some point, the commissioner is going to be like, okay, your time away from the game is done. You can come back. I would like to see it. I think really, if I'm looking at this from a producer's angle, this is her opportunity to kind of establish, because what they need to build her up. Like it's one of those things, like we need to give her the show to go out there, hopefully win it. And then now you can set up the ultra grudge match at some point in the future between her and Emily, see them go at it and see what's going to happen. I mean, maybe Emily doesn't want to do it, but if Cara Maria can win this one and start to kind of lay claim to being one of the best, if not the best, from the female side in the challenge era, then it will give them a chance to bring those two together at some point and let them go at it. But it'll be fun to watch it play out.
Do we even know what the rules of this season are? Like, is it a guy winner? Is it a girl winner? Is it just one winner for, like, the first time ever? Like, I'm very confused about all the rules. And
there's a grenade now. I'm like, there's too much TJ Lavin. Why are you teasing us with all this stuff? Like, I want to know what's going to be going on. I never know. It always seems like I don't know if they make it up as they go along. I don't know what happens. Like, I'm assuming that at some point they have a production meeting, like, here's the rules of the game. Like, this is what we ultimately want, but we never know. And it's, I do like the curveballs of it. Maybe they do fly by the seat of their pants and don't know what they're doing, but they don't do a great job in the first couple of episodes of laying out what we can be expecting. Because sometimes it seems like, and I don't know if this is the case, that the cast is just as surprised as anybody else. Like, what are we doing now? Like, what are the rules? Like, it even seemed like the little tribunal, what do they call it?
The Troika.
Troika. Ah, gosh, sorry. I'm an idiot. The Troika, like that seemed like a curveball. They're like, what? Like, and which I love, by the way. I thought that was a pretty cool thing, and it was great for Corey just to go out there and screw himself with that. But I like it, and it just seems like they have these rules and they want to keep it to themselves. I guess perhaps it's trying to make people more interested in the season as it goes along. But it just does sometimes seems like it's like the NFL catch rules. Like, we really don't know what it is, but we're just making it up as we're going along.
Do you have a specific format that you like the best from like the past seasons? Because I always like the individual ones, like the duel was really awesome. But I kind of miss the team games a little bit. Like the Cutthroat season was good with the 3 teams, but like even the Inferno, like good guys versus badasses. Like that was a fun concept too. Like it just seems like they're running back the same thing over and over. It's like, oh, here's your rival, here's your ex, and now it's season by yourself. And they just keep repeating that cycle. Like, I don't know, I kind of like the team games.
Yeah, I like the team games too. I don't know.
It makes for more fun in the house when everyone's not against every other single person.
Yeah, I mean with Vendettas, it's giving an opportunity for people to form alliances and some unique ones too, because you have some wild cards thrown into the mix like Joss and Victor from Big Brother. So it does add a little bit of suspense there. But the team games, it just, I don't know. And it stems from, I think they're doing teams with the celebrities versus champions type thing. Then they're going this way and it's like Vendettas. And like next season will be like Unfollowed. Like these guys stopped following each other on Twitter. And now they battle it. Like you're stretching it a bit thin. Because even with the Victor and Natalie thing, you're like, were they really like that big of rivals? Like if he has a vendetta, like really, like you're stretching it a bit. I like the ones where it's like, well, this guy slept with this guy's girlfriend and stuff like that. Like, okay, that I can buy into. But ultimately, I think as fans of team sports, we like seeing team dynamics, and how those work out. So I would prefer to see something with a little bit more of a team base.
Yeah, even if it was like team, I mean, they did the battle of the seasons where it was like the 4-player teams. But even if you had 5-player teams or 6-player teams, there was 4 of them or 6 of them or whatever it is, just throw a wrench into it a little bit. I like to see people working together sometimes. That not everyone's trying to slash each other's throats, at least try to team up and come up with a team strategy, align with other teams, and that creates some good dynamics, because I don't really care about the challenges. I only really care about what happens in the house.
Yeah, it is kind of the drama. Like you want that. Sometimes when you're pressed for time, you're like, what am I fast forwarding through? It's not the pool parties. It's the, all right, let's go through this challenge. Like, oh, okay, they're in the ball pit. Yeah, okay, cool. I did watch all of it though. I was able to watch it, but time constraints and everything. But yeah, when there's a team thing, I think as well, like when you have team dynamics, where like Survivor, does it always necessarily benefit you to lose somebody from your team? Because you'll see that, because that's kind of like an interesting thing in some reality TV show games where you have team components. You're like, well, we should throw a challenge on purpose, curb like the person who's really awful, and then that'll make our team stronger. And then sometimes you try that and you end up curbing the guy who's the best on your team or the girl who's the best on your team, or else you get to the final thing and it's like, oh, it would benefit us to have more people because we have to carry a log or whatever it is. So I always like those dynamics because I feel like it allows for more strategy and it allows for more camaraderie, because we do still want to see people getting along as much as we want to see people just fighting for rando reasons. So that's why I always prefer something team-wise.
Yeah, because teams always used to try to do that with Big E. They'd be like, all right, so Big E can help us through the first 2 challenges, then we need to go out of our way to get rid of him so he doesn't torpedo our chance to win the big prize.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, there's going to be running, so we got to make sure he's gone before then.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go through some of the cast members that are on this season. You tell me if you like them or you don't like them. It doesn't need to be... All right, so I'm going to go with Leroy. Like or dislike?
I'm okay with Leroy.
Is he any good?
No, he's not good at all. He's still a little. I mean, it's kind of funny how he went out in the Dirty 30, and it's like, and he's upset. It's like, but you're at the same time, you're like, you're not really that good. Like, we're not like, you're cool. Like, he seems like a nice enough person, but it's like, you're not good. Like, that's what it basically comes down to.
Yeah, Leroy's a good hang, and he's living off that one elimination when he was strapped up to the log, and he was like the only guy who was able to do it, and he just killed Johnny Bananas, who didn't even get a chance to really go. And I think he's just living off that one challenge elimination. Everyone thinks he's awesome.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. Like, there was, I can't remember the one guy who got the reputation of being puzzles. I think it was Paul. I can't remember who it was, but it was like he for years floated through this reputation like, oh, he's the puzzle guy. And then he kept choking in all the puzzle challenges. Damn, why can't I think of his name? I can picture his stupid face. But yeah, that happens a lot. Like, all you really need to do is hit it out of the park once, and then you have that reputation carry on with you forever.
Yeah, it was like Anissa is the killer in eliminations. Oh, and she won all of her eliminations like 15 years ago when it was like coin flips and stuff like that. I think she's lost her last like 20.
She loses all the time. Like, enough with her. And I know she's probably going to come back in this season too. It's like, oh my God, just let it go.
All right, Tony, overrated or underrated? Because I think he's wildly overrated. I like him in the house, but he sucks at the challenges.
I like him in the house, but he's awful. Like, he's not good. And I thought last night when they were trying to make us think that Tony was going to be going into the challenge or into the square off, that you're like, oh my God, like, he could go home. Like, this is a legit opportunity for him to get bounced. Like, he's just one of those guys that he seemed, again, like you mentioned it, like cool hang, like, oh, seems cool, you know, nice, good to have around the house, you know, doesn't do anything that warrants him getting a target on his back. But it's like, he doesn't do anything that warrants him being seen as one of the best players. Like, he's a jag. Like, he's whatever. Like, you're the 8th guy off the bench. If somebody's in foul trouble, you're going to get into the game. But otherwise, like, you're not really going to contribute all that much. Well,
the problem with him is, like, he's a good hang in the house when he's not drinking, but he's not entertaining unless he's just being blackout. And then stuff gets a bit risky with him that maybe they don't want to show it too much on TV.
Yeah, that's true. I might have been underselling that part of it. Because I just think of like a goofy drunk guy, but you're like, yeah, he does get a little...
He gets a bit he gets aggressive. I'll put it at that.
A little bit, yeah. That's a good point.
All right, so next guy, Zach. Overrated or underrated? I actually think he's underrated right now. Because he is the last... I know he, like, flamed out in a fine. He had the LeBron cramping when he was, like, running up the mountain, but it didn't really matter. He's the last guy I would want to face in an elimination. He's basically what CT was 10 years ago. He is now.
Yeah, he's coming on, and I think he's ready to take that next step. And we saw that in the finals of the Chance versus Stars, where Emily really wanted to bring him aboard. Like, she wanted to go with the younger guy, and Johnny Bananas was able to weigh upon her that they needed to go with CT because of the veteran guile and everything like that. And really all it basically comes down to for Zach is that he needs to have a couple of more challenges under his belt. And I think once he gets the experience, he's going to end up being one of the most dominant players. He's big physically, like tall guy. He excels at these challenges. Like, he's pretty good. And he's a sneaky one. Like, I think coming into this season, like, he's definitely one to watch. I think he's going to fly under the radar for a couple of weeks, but can definitely be dangerous the further we get into the game.
Jemmy, overrated or underrated? Because I think that she kind of lacks, she more or less acts like the narrator. No one expects her to do well with the challenges anymore. But she's going to fight a little bit, and she's going to kind of move the story along between episode to episode.
Yeah, I don't get her. Like, I watch it, I'm like, what is her deal? Like, I get other people's deal. Like, I get what Corey is. I get what Johnny Bananas is and Cara Maria and everything like that. Like, I get people. Like, I understand what your purpose is, but she just seems completely out of place. Like, every time I look at her, every time she's hanging out around the house, it's like, what do you do? Like, what is your thing? Like, what is your claim to fame? Like, as you say, like, she probably helps production around that. They can feed her lines and she'll be able to repeat them, you know, that perhaps some other people can't do. I don't know if that's something that they're looking for, but it's like every time I'm like always just wildly unimpressed. She's on every season, it seems, but I'm always like wildly unimpressed and I don't understand why. And when she gets targeted, she's always butthurt. It's like, but you're like, I don't know. I've never been impressed. So I feel like one of the most overrated not of all time, but at least of the last decade.
All right, so the last two that I can't figure out why they're on the show whatsoever. One is Sylvia, who is just awful, and the other one the other one is Marie, who's been on like 4 seasons now, and she's just terrible. Like, she's awful at everything.
Oh my gosh, Sylvia last night, I think she was the one who was kind of creeping on Josh while he was cleaning up the kitchen and everything, and it really struck me. I'm like, this is all I know of her. Like, this is real. I'm like, oh my God, like, I've never, like, if she wasn't in those little scenes where she was kind of creeping out, like, I would not notice her on this at all. Like, she would be just a fly on the wall. I think there's some guys who are like that too. But she kind of stands out to me as another one who's just kind of like, oh, like, okay, she's just kind of there. And Marie shows up, and she's, she's the first one to get with Kyle and everything. And then she's the lover scorned already. Like, it took an episode to be the lover. So, like, instant regret. The guy was making out with you and already being like, oh my God, I should have made out with Cara Maria right from the start. And Marie, again, that's another one that I don't get. Maybe because, as I would say with the wife, like, she's not on brand for me. So maybe there's something about that just doesn't interest me. But I don't get it. Like, when there was guys attracted, I'm like, why is that? Like, because I was watching his confessional in the first episode, and you're like, if you like Cara, like, why wouldn't you? Like, I would definitely have gone for Cara Maria, which he eventually did. He rectified the situation. But yeah, Marie, this is kind of there, and you're like, whatever. Like, there's a couple. It feels like they've got to round out the roster because they want this show to last a certain number of weeks. But I think they could benefit by kind of trimming the cast a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one they don't need to trim, Nicole, who's actually pretty legit. I think she can give Cara a run for her money this season. I think her and Kayla are probably the only two.
Yeah, I think that she's a good competitor. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, that there still is kind of a couple of. It's kind of like the women's side is kind of like the AFC to me, where it's like there's 2 or 3 legitimate teams who are legitimate girls who should make it to the finals, and then everybody else is just there. It's like, I got season tickets, so I got to go because they're playing the Bills or whatever. And that's what we're seeing. But I think Nicole is somebody who can definitely be one of those challengers. I think she might be the biggest challenger for Cara Marie.
All right. So
although Kayla now, because Kayla's still there.
I don't think Kayla has the strength to do it. She's too little.
Stop it.
She's too little.
Stop it, you. Listen, she makes up for it in heart.
Oh.
Don't judge her by her size. She's, you know what, and I like that she came out and she's challenged. She's going after, she's taking a swing at the biggest star like that. And I think that she can make it happen. I think she gets underestimated a lot. I expect her to step up big this season. And it sucks. It's so funny talking about this stuff because it's already done and it's already recorded. I purposely don't.
I don't do it either.
But I know that there's going to be people who watch this and they're going to know what happened. They're going to be like, Rank is the biggest idiot. Like, she's gone in the third or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, I'm so afraid. Because at least with football, like, we can sit here and break down the divisional round of the playoffs. It hasn't been played yet. So I cannot be proven on. I could be talking out of my A right now, not knowing what had happened. But I still think that Kayla is going to end up being a huge force this season.
Well, Rank, I know you're at NFL Network, so you can't really speak about that. But we all know that football is fixed, pre-taped, and it's just made for TV. The people in the stands, they're just actors.
Yeah, it's booked. Like, you listen, there's people at WrestleMania who still think that's real. So I guess it's the same thing.
All right. So you're watching Bachelor. You love Big Brother. You're watching The Challenge. Are you watching Vanderpump?
No.
You got to get into Vanderpump.
I feel like I do. I feel like that's my wheelhouse. That's one I don't do some of the big ones. I don't do that one. I don't do Survivor. The wife does a lot of the Housewives. I sort of know once the Brooks cancer thing kind of played out, I was out of that. The Real Housewives of the OC. But I've developed like quite a fine niche of the shows I'm going to. But Vanderpump could be something I look into.
So you see, Vanderpump was I stopped watching The Bachelor this year. It was too much of my time, and it was the same season every single season. So Monday nights, I just switched over to Vanderpump. It's only an hour. It's a breezy hour. It flies by. But how does your wife watch all the Real Housewives shows and you don't get sucked into it? Because I do. I'm watching, like, New Jersey just ended. I'm watching Beverly Hills right now. And, like, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Well, I think the thing that helps out is that we have a toddler. She's 2.5, and I'm in charge of bedtime. And with Papa, bedtime is an hour because I let her screw around and like we read books and we do other things. So she goes to bed at 8, and I don't get downstairs till 9. Um, so the wife has an opportunity to go and knock out one of the Real Housewives and like that. So I'm thankful to not get sucked into that. I should say, reality TV shows wise, we watched the Real Divas on E
Okay.
with the WWE. Yeah, because my wife's a wrestling fan, so that helps as well. So we watched Real Divas. We were watching Total Bellas, and I swear to God, you talked about a breezy hour for Vanderpump. There is not a show longer than the hour-long Total Bellas, like where you'll watch like the A block and be like, or no, you'll watch like you'll watch the A block and be like, there's got to be like 20 minutes left. You're like, yeah, we're 12 minutes in. Like, how is this possible? Like, it's excruciating. Never miss an episode, but it's excruciating.
All right, before we get out of here, quick hits on LA sports. The Angels, you pumped or are you down on this season?
Oh my God, I could not be more excited. I even, again, my daughter loves baseball, and we were watching so much MLB coverage in December.
Okay, hold on a second. Your daughter's 2.5. Does she really love baseball? Because she's going to turn 6. It's going to bore the shit out of her.
Yeah, she might. She might, but for right now, she does a really good job of it. We've been taking her to the ballpark since she was 3 months old, and I'll take her to games. This season, she was small enough to still fit in the carrier. Even like we don't usually go to the seats. I usually will stand and watch the game with her strapped in. People bring me beers, and she'll watch it. And then when you walk out in certain parts of the concourse where she can't see the game, she'll be like, and she does like this annoying little thing. And then it took me a second to figure out what she was doing. Like she didn't want to leave the action. She's mesmerized by everything. So I hope that it's something that she will continue throughout all of her days. I don't want her to become 7 and be like, yeah, this sucks, and then try to find something else. But she really legitimately loves it. The day of the Ohtani presser, she had grabbed her jersey when I was changing. I had to open up her closet, getting her ready for the day, and she grabbed her jersey. She's like, baseball. I'm like, whatever, let's go to this thing. Well, whatever. And we went and we hung out for that. So I'm excited for this season. I think that the team that they've constructed there now looks pretty good. The thing that's most impressive to me was when they brought in Simmons 2 years now, even though they lost their best pitcher who still hasn't made a blip for the Braves yet, but whatever. Now they have a Gold Glove second baseman, a Gold Glove shortstop, a Gold Glove catcher. The only guy up the middle who doesn't have a Gold Glove is Mike Trout, but I still think that he's a pretty fair player. Love the outfield. We're going to get a full year out of Justin Upton with Cole Calhoun. To me, that's the best outfield in baseball. You can bring your arguments. Don't at me. I don't want to hear it. I think Cowart will do fine at third base. As long as Ian Kinsler isn't at the levels of Danny Espinosa, Danny K as we like to call him, I think that'll be fine. Albert looks like he's in shape enough to allow Ohtani to get some at-bats at DH, and it's a really impressive collection, and I think Epler's done a great job of rebuilding the farm system. So I'm optimistic for this season. I think we can compete for a wild card. It's going to be tough to knock off the Astros, but I wouldn't back down from it.
Well, you're repping the Kings with your toque to cut down the glare coming off your cue ball. But Kings, are you excited with where this is going this season? Are you disappointed? And are they still Cup contenders? Let's say next year.
Next year, I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. I know there's a contract negotiation or two looming, which is going to be pretty tough. But I think going into the season, I thought the coaching change was much needed. We saw, Kopitar is playing better, and I think the biggest adjustment or the biggest benefactor from the coaching change was Dustin Brown, who is all of a sudden playing like a guy who was the captain of this team just a couple of years ago. So I'm really impressed with what's going on. It's fun being good during the regular season because, even during their Cup seasons, they snuck in as the 8th seed in 2012, and you thought going up against Vancouver, you're like, Jesus Christ, just don't get swept. And then they had that amazing run. And then even in 2004, they get to the Stanley Cup, or excuse me, they get to the Western Conference Finals the following year, and then they get to the Stanley Cup the next year, and they win it again. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. And then they just kind of they did the opposite of what the Blackhawks did. The Blackhawks identified 2 guys that they were going to keep, and that's it. And everybody else is expendable. And the Kings were kind of like, let's keep the band together. They kind of had some bad contracts, which caused them to lose out on a couple of people like Lucic and everybody like that. But it seems like for this season, everything's working in the right direction. And if they go deep into the finals again, or if they get to the Stanley Cup final, or they win the Stanley Cup, then I kind of don't care what happens for the next decade. But if they can do one more run, I think it'll be pretty fun.
Did you latch back onto the Rams now that they're back? Did you adopt the Chargers as your team? Like, what's the deal with LA football?
No and no. And here's the thing with the Rams. Like, everybody's like, oh, you're not gonna get back with the Rams. You're like, look, I broke up with the Rams when I was like, 15? Like, this was my high school girlfriend. And then a high school girlfriend moved away to St. Louis, started doing porn, won an AVN award, and while she was accepting that AVN award, said that leaving you was the best thing that she ever did. And then 22 years later, she's gained like 50 pounds. She's all busted up and moves back to town, and she wants to go meet up at Applebee's. Like, no. That's not going to fly, sister. I'm with somebody new now, somebody who won't leave me. So I'm sorry. I'm happy for you. I have nothing. I love the time that we spent together, but you know what? Those times are over. Good luck to you. I'll root for you in the future. I hope you do very well, but I'm happy in the relationship that I'm in now. So please just do your thing. Lose my number.
Lakers to close it out.
Yeah, but
are you pumped about Lonzo, or are you more pumped about LeBron next year?
I would honestly love to see them keep the guys that they have right now.
Oh, please, give me a break.
Bro, listen, this is the benefit of being a Lakers fan, is that when Karl Malone signed with the team, I was actually happy when they lost the finals to the Pistons. And I was like, you know what? F Karl Malone. He didn't deserve a ring anyways. Because that's the thing. It's like we've seen the Lakers win so much that it's like, it's cool, but it's not necessary. And I think LeBron would be fine, but it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, this smacks of the 80s Angels of bringing in all these retired or these guys at the end of their careers. Even with Albert, it's like Albert Pujols. Like, it's that kind of thing. Like, this will end up being a contract that saddles the team for quite some time. And for what? They have a nice young nucleus right now. If Lonzo Ball's dad was anybody else, people would be celebrating. I got to listen because there's a station in Los Angeles. It's the Clipper station, but it's somehow the most popular station here. And they're drive time guys. One of them's Matt Money Smith, who I love dearly. But they make their money by essing on the Lakers the whole time. And then Don McClain comes on and is like, I'm not sold on You're not sold on Lonzo Ball, the guy who is a threat to have a triple-double every goddamn time he steps out on the court, okay? When Lonzo was out, that team sucked. And now all of a sudden, Lonzo's back, 3-game winning streak. How is that happening? What is the common thread that I'm missing? Oh, yeah, it's Lonzo Ball, the point guard, who knows how to run an offense. So I'm excited about it. I think he's a good pick. He's a good player. And I think this Lakers team, man, and Kuzma ended up being a steal. And listen, I watch a lot of Pac-12 basketball. I saw Kuzma play at Utah. I was like, fine player. When they drafted him, you're like, okay, because like Larry Nance has done pretty well, and I saw him a lot at Wyoming. Like Larry Nance looked like a better college player to me at Wyoming than Kuzma did at Utah. But you're like, man, they nailed those picks. They got a good nucleus. Even if you get LeBron, are you going to be competing against Golden State in the next 5 years? Probably not. The best way to do it, let this team grow. And then as Lonzo continues to mature, more big name guys are going to want to come and play with him. And that's when you make your move. We
don't know all the details yet, but you have the first pick. You're on the clock right now. Fantasy next year. Who is it? Is it Gurley?
Alvin. I'm going to go Alvin Kamara.
I thought you were going to it's funny you said Alvin. I thought you were going to say Melvin Gordon. I was like, good Lord, man.
No. Melvin Gordon.
It's terrible, right?
God damn. Every time, man. And people are like, look, he scored again. I'm like, do you not watch the games? Like, it drives me crazy. Like, they put him in perfect positions. I even said this in one of my closing articles of the season, was that if the Chargers could go out there, I thought the Chargers should have drafted a running back. They need, like, Melvin Gordon's like a bigger Danny Woodhead. Just let him catch the ball and get him out in space and do whatever, but he can't be a running back who runs between the tackles. And that's why the Chargers sucked in the beginning of the season, is that because they tried to make him a 3-down running back and running between the tackles, which he definitely cannot do. But I like Alvin Kamara. And I say this, I know for sure in a PPR league, I would lean this way, because a lot of people, they get put off. They're like, what about Mark Ingram? You're like, yeah, Mark Ingram was there this season, and he was the RB3 in PPR. He was the RB5 in standards. And by the way, like, he essentially missed the first couple of games because they were trying that ridiculous Adrian Peterson experiment. So I think that a full offseason, an opportunity to implement and just keep the band together and just keep doing what they're doing, he should be a top 5 type of player. Although I like Gurley a lot, and I wouldn't argue with anybody who wants to do that. The sneaky one to me, who I'm really thinking about, is I'm thinking about going DeAndre Hopkins in a lot of leagues. Because I think that guy, DeAndre Hopkins.
I know, I get it, but, like, is he a safer bet than Antonio Brown?
You remember a couple of years ago, and you were of the forefront of this, and you stacked all your teams with Antonio Brown and Rob Gronkowski, which was a great strategy. You were ahead of the RB, the zero RB type of thing. I think that now it's the time that DeAndre Hopkins is going to take over, especially if Deshaun Watson is able to participate in every mini camp and the full training camp and everything. That I think that what you want to have is you want to have DeAndre Hopkins. And if you can stomach it and get Deshaun Watson, I think having that stack, standard, PPR, doesn't matter. I think next season that would be a winning combination.
Adam Rank. Check him out on Twitter, @Adam Rank. And, of course, you can always just watch him on NFL.com, on the NFL Network. He's a big deal, aren't you?
No, not at all. You're the big deal. This is a big moment for me. I was actually nervous to come on. I'm like, oh, my God, Pat wants me on. Like, I hope I don't mess this up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had to throw you out of your element a little bit. I mean, we can talk about football all day long. We're talking about the challenge, a little bit different.
This is fun. Yeah, you could tell I was more passionate about the challenge. Then you're like, yeah, whatever, I'll take this. But it's fun. I love it. I'm glad that there's another like-minded individual out there, and we should try to get the challenge as part of the League of Leagues, because that would really test our skills.
Well, you're still, people might not know, Rank and I both play in a league called the League of Leagues. It's baseball, football, and basketball all in one league. So we go to Vegas every year. We do the draft, and the first overall pick is, what pick did you have? You had the last pick of the first round, right?
We are the last pick, yeah.
So who did you take first and second? You went basketball?
We went LeBron James and the guy from the Nuggets.
Oh, Jokic.
Oh, my God. Jokic, excuse me. Yeah, we were Jokic, and everybody was like, oh, that's like, because everybody wanted to grab him in the second round, but we were picks 14 and 15, and we're like, well, he's obviously not coming back around to us, so might as well be too early than too late.
Yeah, the basketball first strategy is working out, because you guys are still in it. Myself and Chris Meany, not so much.
You just had some bad luck. Like, the football is the hardest to predict, and
especially when you're doing the draft in March.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. And basketball has the smallest run. Like, baseball's set up to be like favorable to everybody who knows stuff about baseball. But football, they took out every advantage we would have, like stripped it from us and made it harder. And it's so hard. Like, it's such a I shouldn't say this as somebody who deals a lot in fantasy football, but there's so much luck involved. And you're doing a draft in March, trying to figure out who is going to be the top receiver and quarterback and runner. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, who knew that my fourth-round pick on Julio Jones would not be better than me picking up Robert Woods off the waiver wire at some point? Like, I did not expect that to happen.
That was one we didn't see coming.
No, I don't think anyone did. Maybe Robert Woods did. I guess the Rams did when they gave him all that money, which we all kind of laughed at it at the time, but it turned out to be all right.
No, I think that worked out well for them.
Yeah, it just turns out playing for the Bills just makes you terrible no matter who you are. Anyway, Rank, thanks. You've given up way too much of your time today. Thanks for being on the line.
Oh, the pleasure was all on this side of the computer screen.
All right. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience. Video versions on the DraftKings YouTube page, audio versions, Stitcher, Podomatic, Audio Boom, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. If you know how to stream anything off the internet, you can find the Pat Mayo Experience. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.